Hi everyone. So thanks for watching and tuning in this evening. If you don't already know me, Cass introduced me. I'm Ailie, and I'm going to be talking a little bit about the wildlife of the Cairngorms, our guided days out, and the holidays that really kind of focus on this area. So, a little bit about myself. I have worked for Speyside Wildlife for 3 years now, and I work mainly doing our day guiding, which run all year round. But I have also guided a few of our Scottish holidays, including Speyside 24/7, which I'll talk about a little bit later. And I work in the office doing a bit of the administration for the guided days out and our ID courses and master classes. So the job is pretty all-rounded, which is really nice actually. So I actually grew up in Inverness, so not too far from here. So this whole area is just home to me, and visiting these areas as a guide is really special. And being able to share these places with guests is really just a dream job. Um, so yeah, so it's really nice to be able to share this with you. So here we go. So here is a map of Scotland, obviously, and you can see here the area circled is the River Spey, just to give you an idea of the area that we cover locally on the guided days out and also on our Speyside 24/7 holiday. So any other holidays based here too, such as sort of Speyside and Mull at Easter, um, this is the kind of area that we cover. So on a smaller scale, in this little sort of square bit here, you can see Granton on Spey down to Newsham Moor. So this area is known as Badenoch and Strathspey, which is really kind of where we're based. And we're in really easy reach of the Cairngorm Mountains, Inch Marshes, the Findhorn Valley, Abernethy Forest, and Inverness is only about 30 minutes drive away. We're also in really easy reach of the Moray coast. So it's quite accessible, for any of our holidays. If you're staying locally, Inverness is kind of your place where you would head to on the train. So a little bit about the logistics. So I'm going to start off talking about our guided days out. So for our guided days out, we will collect you in the sort of Badenoch and Strathspey area in our comfortable seven-seater minibus, which I'm sure some of you will be familiar with if you've been on one of our holidays. Um, but if you're staying out with the area, we always try and find a suitable meeting spot where you can safely leave your car for the day. I have collected people from Aviemore train station before, if you prefer to take sort of public transport, if you will. So we normally, on the guided days out, we would normally start around 9 a.m. However, obviously in spring and early summer, it's worth starting earlier. So this photo is of these beautiful black grouse here. Took this probably just after dawn, about 6 a.m. in May, and through the scope, we were quite a distance away, but it was such a still morning, so we could really hear them bubbling and cooing. The sun was hitting our backs, and I was just hitting the top of this hill where they were lekking. It was quite magical. So with these guided days out, they can last around 8 to 10 hours, but if you want to start earlier, we will. It doesn't have to be 9 o'clock. And obviously in the spring for the dawn course, you want to get up a bit earlier. With all our guided days out, we like to have our comfort breaks. So this is a great picture of the old Pack Horse Bridge in Carbridge in lovely autumn colours. So I usually stop here mid-morning, a break for the loo, a coffee, and just to admire this bridge really. Although we're looking for wildlife, there's some great, fantastic bridges and ruined castles, really worth stopping and having a look at throughout the day. So I'm going to talk a little bit about our itineraries. There are several itineraries you can choose from. I just want to mention that talking about our Speyside 24/7 holiday later on, all of these itineraries are included in this holiday. So each day we do one of these itineraries. So it will make sense at the kind of end of the talk how the holiday comes together. So I've put our most popular itineraries up here, but on our website there's a few more to choose from, including the River Spey and Summer Wildflowers. So we have Highland Glen, the Black Isle, Merlin to Moray Firth, Cairngorm Mountain, or our most popular one, which is our Cairngorms National Park, which I'll explain a little bit more about in a bit. So, Highland Glen. Some of you might recognize this area. There's a couple different glens I actually like to choose from, really depending on which part of the area you're staying in or which part of, the area we are throughout the day. We can do a half day in the glen and match it up with somewhere else like a pine forest. So this particular spot is one of my favorite lunch spots in the area, especially in the spring and the summer. You can get dipper, common sandpiper whizzing by, grey wagtail, and when the sand martins and swallows arrive, they're just they're really enjoying themselves over the river here. We can also, it's actually a really great place to see salmon in the autumn. So saying that, I have a short video for you here, just a very quick. So this was a very cold day out last November. You can almost see the snow there. And the salmon with ease moving upstream. You can just see their fins there, but it's pretty cool actually. You normally see salmon, leaping up in these sort of waterfalls, but yeah, really being able to just kind of stand on the edge of this river and really clearly see them, it's just great. It's very cold, snowy. So with a Highland Glen, we really do focus on birds of prey. So you've got peregrine there, red kite, kestrel, merlin, osprey. It's actually nicknamed Raptor Valley for this reason alone. But there's also, of course, golden eagles. There's white-tailed eagles as well. And we're always hoping for sights of these gorgeous golden eagles here. Early autumn can be a fantastic time to look for the eagles because there's a lot of young ones on the wing. So mountain hare are a species that we find in these glens, and everybody loves seeing these mountain hares in their winter coat in the snow. But I have to say, I actually love their summer chocolatey brown coat. They blend in really well, so when you find them, it's just, yeah, it's very satisfying. Perfect camouflage. So it can also be a great place to see the red deer rutting. September and October is a good time to book in for a guided day out for the red deer rut. Look at this stag, he's bellowing away. So as we're kind of standing at the bottom watching these guys, like it's not just watching them, but you can hear them. It's actually echoing in this glen. So I think this photo might have been taken last year's Speyside 24/7. So at the end of the glen, there's always a good stretch to the legs. So we kind of walk along this bit up to a nice viewpoint, and you can really take in the whole sort of glen and the hillside. And, if you're lucky, you might get a golden eagle flying over. So, next itinerary is the Black Isle. So, the Black Isle is just north of Inverness. So, if you're staying within Badenoch and Strathspey, it takes us about 30 minutes to get there. We collect guests in Inverness for this day out, so you don't have to be in Badenoch and Strathspey. And the Black Isle is surrounded, if you don't know, if you haven't been there, it's surrounded by water on three sides. So you have the Beely Firth, the Moray Firth, and the Cromarty Firth. Each of these bodies of water, I think they feel different and they hold different species to a certain extent. This is a Beauly Firth in this picture, and this is us starting off our day. So it's a great place to look for otters here on the Beauly Firth. Just gonna take a little drink of water whilst you enjoy this video. So this lovely guy, he was on the Beauly Firth. I don't think it was quite the same day, but it was near enough a similar day out on the Black Isle. And we're lucky enough to kind of watch him for about 30 minutes. We were just watching him go back and forth as the tide was rising, fishing along the shore and then coming out to eat. So if any of you have been out with me before, I get very excited. And otters are one of my favorite mammals, so I do kind of get very excited with them. Have to remember to be a little bit stealthy, but this individual, he wasn't bothered about us at all. He was quite chilled. Okay. So the Black Isle is a very popular day out for our winter months. As you can see here on the Cromarty Firth, it's a great place to see waders and wildfowl. So you've got widgeon there, teal, redshank, curlew, dunlin, oyster catchers. There's really masses of birds here, and it's incredible. In the autumn, it's one of the best places to see pink-footed geese arriving. The noise is it's amazing as they all kind of come down to land. So I've got another little video of that. I hope you can all hear that. Might have to turn up. They're all coming down. I think it's called water waffling. I'm sure everybody enjoys that noise, watching them all arrive. But yeah. So this photo was taken from Speyside 24/7 this past year. We're looking out onto the Moray Firth on a really beautiful day. So only if all of our sea watches were this nice and calm. So on this particular day, we actually spotted minke whale here and harbour porpoise, as well as bottlenose dolphin. So if you've ever been here before, you'll know how close you can actually see the dolphins. They're so close to shore. It's really one of the best places in the UK to see dolphins from land. So there's a long list of species we can see in the Black Isle, including sea ducks, grebes, gannets, auks, divers. One of my favorites is the long-tailed ducks in the winter. I just think their winter plumage is just fantastic. There's often large wrasse of scaup, and we can see overwintering Slavonian grebes mixed in with these flocks as well. The eiders and the red-breasted mergansers, they're here year round, so. And finally, on the Black Isle, there's a lot of actually beautiful woodland. So this one is actually called Fairy Glen. So as you can see, it looks rather whimsical. When you walk through it, it feels very magical. So that's why it's called Fairy Glen. The autumn colours here are just brilliant. So on that sort of autumn winter time when it's good to go out to Black Isle, we often include a walk through some of the different habitats just to kind of mix it up, and it's nice to stretch the legs. So moving on, this is the Moorland and Moray Firth Day. So I feel like this is a really big day out because we pack quite a lot into it. But it's really one of my favorite days because there's just so much variety, and it takes us to the Moray coast. So starting off over the Moorland, heading to a secluded loch, we look for red grouse. In March, we see the males calling out with their large red wattles. The eyebrows are almost enlarged and almost ultraviolet in colour. Other species we would find in the spring and summer would be curlew, wheat ear, common sandpiper, and there's a breeding colony of common gulls here. I always find it kind of strange to hear the seaside noises in the moorland, but it's pretty cool. So the ravens, they can frequent the moorlands as well, and you'll quite often hear them cronking away. So here, another Speyside 24/7 photo. We have the guests looking out over the loch. So this is a really special loch. Some of you may know it if you've been here before. It holds a very special pair of breeding birds here, black-throated divers. So we can see them from the start of spring all the way into early autumn when they have chicks. Again, a really nice day. So we had really nice weather on this holiday last year. So leaving the moorland, we head to the coast, stopping along the beach when we get there for a little stretch of the legs and some sea watching. I have to mention the gorse. Took this photo at Findhorn Beach, and the smell of the coconut, the gorse, it lines the sand dunes, and in May the color is just so vibrantly yellow. Excuse me, sorry. But yeah, it's beautiful. So our comfort break's very important. This is the traditional fishing harbour of Burghead. So we'll stop here for a comfort break, and occasionally you'll see the odd sheltering seal here, and sometimes the odd red-throated diver in the actual harbour itself. So we'll stop at several locations along the coast in autumn. It has been known to be a great place to see the basking sharks from land. That photo there, that is actually Burghead Harbour in the background of the basking shark. So you'll have common scoter sitting in wrasse just off the coast, and the red-throated divers throughout the winter as well. And then further along the coast, you'll come across little groups of wader, and quite often, whenever we see flocks of turnstone, we're going to sift through them specifically for these guys. So our purple sandpipers. They're often mixed in with the turnstones. These are gorgeous little birds. Get very excited again when I see these, but they don't seem to scare off as easy. So from sea to the mountains, our next itinerary is the Cairngorm Mountains. This can be a little bit weather dependent. The mountains can hold snow all year round. This photo was taken in May, Speyside 24/7 this past year. Again, very lucky with the weather. A walk up onto the tops of the plateau can take a few hours, so we don't tend to fit in much else on this day. It can be hard work, and you do need to be fairly fit, but there's a lot of lower level walks which we will do just to kind of get a bit of taste of the mountains and experience, and still look for some of the species that live here. So whichever sort of route that we choose, regardless, it's very rewarding, especially if you do see your successful target species. So there are a few species very specific to this habitat. This one here, snow bunting. It's one of the few birds that breed up on the top of the Cairngorm Mountains and can be good in summer. This one is in its full breeding plumage, and you can see it's used to people. It's looking for crumbs from the hikers on their sandwiches when they're stopping at the top. In the winter, they always hang around where the skiers have their lunch as well, in their flocks, and they're equally just as beautiful in their winter and summer plumage. So, ptarmigan and dotterel, they are main species of birds that we look for on this day out. They're very unique to this habitat, and they're best seen in early summer when we're hiking up. The weather's a bit better. You might see them with chicks. They tend to be a little bit, well, obviously the dotterel are here during the summer as well, so it's worth kind of going up. You'll see a little bit more. And if you don't see anything at all, you'll still get a great view. So this is looking east from the Cairngorm Mountain over to the sort of rest of the hills of the Cairngorm National Park, out towards sort of Aberdeenshire. So this is from Cairngorms, looking down to Loch Morlich. So it's kind of one of our lower level walks, and then you do go up a little bit more. You can stop a bit further down and still get an amazing view. Uh, it can be very nice and sheltered, so it's out of the wind. So when it's a bit windy, it's a great lunch spot. Look at that. So lastly, I'm going to talk about, well, lastly, our last itinerary that I'm going to talk about is the Cairngorms National Park. So this is one of our most popular itineraries that guests choose when they're booking guided days out. It's really just left up to the guide to choose the day. So depending on the time of year, what's showing well, we'll kind of plan a day out. So you can let us know if you'd like to see something in particular, and we'll fit it into the day. But when planning this day, I usually like to pick a few different habitats and give you a good introduction of the Cairngorms National Park. If you're staying in the area for a few days, it gives you the ideas of different places you can visit over your holiday. So what I'm going to do is just kind of run through an example of what our Cairngorms day out would be. So, sorry, I'm just going to have a bit of water. Beautiful photo there. That's the moorland that we're talking about that we visit on our moorland and Moray Firth day. So we combine a little bit of all those other itineraries into kind of one day. What we can do anyway. So we would start the morning off about 8 a.m. maybe, collecting you from your accommodation and head up to this sort of beautiful moorland where we'd get out a few times on this back road and scan for some wildlife. So we'd hope to see the red grouse and hear them making that go back call. I'm not going to try it. We may encounter some meadow pipits, curlews, stone chats, and if we're lucky, maybe a hen harrier hunting in the background. We would then move on to a little valley. So these sort of miniature glens, if you will. In the middle, you'll have sort of low-level farm fields surrounded by sort of gentle hills and pine trees. And here, we may see golden plover and their breeding plumage. You'll have groups of these birds stopping over to feed on their way to breeding sites in the spring. So if this was in spring, we would be listening out for redstart from the tops of the pine trees which line this valley. And you'd also probably see some common gulls, lapwings, and maybe even a distant eagle in the background over the hills. We'd then go back to Carbridge for our mid-morning break, stretch our legs and admire the 300-year-old bridge. And then after that, we'd head off. So we'd maybe move on to Little Lochin. You can look as happy as these guests are. There's lots to see here. So grey-lag geese and their goslings, little grebes, tufted ducks, grey heron. But the guide has taken you here for a very special reason. Slavonian grebes. So breeding here in the Highlands in the summer, we're very privileged to be able to see them and their stunning, stunning breeding plumage. Just look at those orange tufts there. It's gorgeous. Then we would maybe head to a pine forest for maybe just about an hour. Quick walk through the forest. Well, maybe not quick because we'd be strolling through, listening out for calls. So ideally, we would be hearing things like crested tits, maybe a family of crossbills, tree pipits at the top, maybe a scampering red squirrels in the undergrowth. Now, that would be an excellent walk indeed. And then I think it'd probably be getting close about lunchtime. So we'd want to stop. And those of you that have been on our holidays know that the guides take lunch very seriously. So we like to pick nice locations when we can. On a lovely spring or summer day, this is another one of my favorite lunch spots. I think I have a lot of favorite lunch spots. Maybe I just like lunch. But this is the River Spey. So we'd stop here at the River Spey and ideally we would see these things here. So in the spring, we would maybe hear some pied flycatchers singing in the nearby oak trees. In the summer, we would look for ospreys fishing to feed for young. There's golden eyes that nest here on the River Spey. They'd be teaching their chicks how to dive in the shallows. And in the late summer, we'd be looking out for Scotch Argus butterflies. Isn't that lovely? So after lunch, we'd make a point to visit this beautiful wildflower meadow. So the fragrant orchids here are just glorious. They are only here for a precious few weeks over the late spring to early summer, but it is just heavenly. Like look at them all there. There's just so many of them, so you can imagine the smell. So as well as these orchids, we may also come across some butterflies. You have common blue are particularly fond of this meadow. And finally, on our way back to accommodation, we may stop at a viewpoint. This is a photo I took last summer at Castle Roy with all the poppies. So they plant lots of these sort of wildflower mixes here. And it's a great spot to stop at. And as it looks out over Strathspey, a wee wander around the ruins of the castle nicely finishes off the day, really. So I've talked a little bit about all of our itineraries that are included on our guided days out, but also make up our Speyside 24/7 holiday. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about the Speyside holidays. So any of our holidays that are based here or partly based here includes some of everything that I've talked about. And I just want to clarify that the Speyside 24/7 holiday it aims to seek out 24 of the best birds and 7 of the best mammals. Does not mean that we don't stop for 7 days, just in case you wanted to know that. So this is the gorgeous Tiny Ski Hotel where we have wonderful hosts, Ian and Elaine. They feed us very well. It's very comfortable, relaxing hotel. We can sit and do our checklist. They've got a beautiful open fire. It really feels like luxury staying there. They're very welcoming and accommodating, and yeah, it's just generally a beautiful place to stay. Even from the breakfast window, we can sometimes see red squirrels in the morning. Whilst we're waiting at the minibaths, we'll be hearing birds calling and looking out for tree creepers and woodpeckers. It's really beautiful. So I'm just showing this again, just so it gives you an idea of all the days that are included on our Speyside 24/7 holiday. So when it would come to the Cairngorms, we would include maybe a pine forest, possibly a few other habitats in the one day, like visiting the River Spey, or maybe even inch marshes, if you're familiar with that area there. So we also have a big day out to the west coast. This is a great photo. So this was from Speyside 24/7 last year. And this is always a highlight for me because the scenery we drive through is just spectacular. The mountains are right next to the sea and it's just so dramatic. So we're having a great sunny day there, blue skies and all looking very happy. So this is one of our stops here. It's looking over Grunard Bay. So on this day we had a lovely lunch. We were looking for water, looking over the water for any otters and just enjoying the scenery. But a trip to the west coast does have ulterior motives. Of course, white-tailed eagles. So this is one of the best places in Scotland to see these birds. I'd like to say this photo wasn't photoshopped, but the views that we do get of the white-tailed eagles are just very good. They're absolutely fantastic here because they tend to fly along the coast. And this is us kind of looking out. You can see these islands in the background. So the white-tailed eagles actually fly from the sort of mainland over to these little islands. So you really do get to see them kind of like this from underneath them. So along the shore, we'll see lots of seals here, both common and grey. Sorry. And at this time of year, so Speyside 24/7 is end of April, start of May. So we actually catch the Great Northern Divers as well. So they've actually gone into their breeding plumage. So it's not just that you get to see them, but you actually get to see them in their breeding plumage, and it's just great. Look at that sort of checkered markings on the back there. They're always a popular bird with for photos actually. So a trip to the West Coast isn't complete without heading to the beach. So I can't express how beautiful it is here. This is another lovely group photo. This is from the previous year of our Speyside 24/7 holiday. You know, it can be a little chilly. You can see everybody's got their hats and gloves and jackets on. But west is best when it's sunny. So I've already shown this photo here of these beautiful black grouse. So we make sure to include an early morning to head out looking for black grouse lekking. And if we're lucky, like I said before, you can hear them bubbling and cooing. But what's actually very nice about this early start is that after we've had time to watch the grouse, we actually head back to the hotel for breakfast to then get organized before heading out for the day. So it kind of breaks up the day really nicely. So you're not really out from, the crack of dawn all the way to the end of the day. So I quite enjoy that, heading back for breakfast. Very food orientated here. So some of you may have visited our mammal hide before. So after dinner, one of the evenings, we'll drive out to our hide. This is our hide here and the setup that we've got, which we have to ourselves. And we'll wait for badgers and hopefully a beautiful pine marten. So if you're lucky, you'll see them at the same time. And most recently, the elusive wildcats have actually also been seen from the hide. So it's another mammal we would hope to see. So one other evening added to this Speyside 24/7 holiday, we'll have an early dinner. And then from here, we'll head out for a stroll to a very sort of secluded loch-in, and we'll wait till dusk time. So we'll arrive just before the sun's going down, just while we've got a nice amount of light, and we'll wait here for maybe sort of 30 minutes or so to an hour. And what we're looking for here is our newly introduced beavers. So because of the time of year we run this holiday, it's light till about 9 p.m. So we luckily don't have to stay out too late. We're just heading out after dinner, and there's not a lot of midges. So hopefully as it gets dark, we'll hear owls calling, we can hear snipes drumming, as well as the bats are actually coming out to feed over the loch. It's just a really nice way to spend the evening. And it only takes us 20 minutes or so to get back to the hotel. So there's not a lot of travel involved. So it's really good. Everything's within easy reach. So kind of to sum it up, the wildlife of the Cairngorms it's just so special. We're very fortunate to have such a diverse range of habitats all within easy reach, as well as speciality species like crested tit, golden eagle, black-throated diver, and our newly introduced beavers. There's too many to mention. So let's hope when you next visit us, or if you come on one of our holidays based in Speyside, we can show you all of these lovely creatures. So thank you to everyone for listening.